So what have I got today? It's a Honda Civic. Yeah, I'm not too much of a fan of this shape. I liked Hondas in the 90s, liked the styling they did then. And they went a bit weird. If the Civic MK9 was Honda's descent into madness, then the Mark X is basically where they tried to walk it back and failed miserably. It's basically a facelift of the Mark IX, only they've added some DRLs and they've put a rear wiper on at last. Considering their engineers proudly boasted that it wouldn't need one, only it did. Please understand, I'm no Honda hater. In fact, I've owned several. My father was a fanatic for Honda as well, having owned several during his driving life. But I myself have had a Civic, an Accord, a Legend, and 2 Preludes. I disliked that Civic and the Accord, but I had my reasons. Of course, present day I'm back to Hondas with 2 Mark III Odysseys, and I love them dearly. So, Honda have done some wonderful things. This is not one of those wonderful things. I don't like this door catch. I never liked it. No. Hondas do have a very distinct look to their interiors though. And this one reminds me of the Odyssey enough that I actually quite liked it. Alright, let's start with some simple stuff. This key is kind of like Volkswagen, but with their own signature touch. I like Honda's little chrome buttons, even if they do wear down quickly. But otherwise, it's a reasonable designer key, and it's kind of eerily familiar to other products I know. Now, this one doesn't have a push-button start, so you just have to put the key in the old-fashioned way, but it is one of those that you have to put your clutch in to start. What I will point out at this point is, even though the seats are cloth, they're kind of that weird suede texture stuff that I would imagine would get marked very easily. However, they are comfortable. How much adjustment do I get on this steering? Very little. Everything seems very close at hand. It's kind of claustrophobic-ish. More so than I would like. And everything's very wraparound. You know, the way the dash is and just the way the pods are so close to you. It all feels very, very much the opposite of the Odyssey. Everything feels really close instead of feeling far away and giving the illusion of space. I've grown to like turbos a great deal, and driving a car without one it kind of feels like it's lacking something. The gear selection is very direct. You always know where you are. I find it a little bit strange with the clutch control, but that was always a Honda thing. The steering feels a little bit soft for my liking, but it's still kind of hard by Honda standards. I'm still getting to grips with this wraparound dash. I find the placement a bit funny. And the other thing that I've found is that the glare immediately goes for it. You can't see it properly in harsh sunlight. And that's a big problem. You'd think that they'd have thought about that beforehand. Now, I'm sure if I haven't mentioned this story already, when they first came out with the Sheep, Honda said, oh, we specifically designed this back window so you wouldn't need a rear wiper. Turns out they didn't do a very good job, because it turns out you did need a wiper, so they had to put it in when they changed it to the facelift. But they left this horrendous design behind where the rear windscreen is actually split into 2. It puts a giant blind spot in what you can see out of the rearview mirror. And of course, they didn't fit a reverse camera, did they? Alright, so what engines do we get? Well, the biggest one you get in this is the K24, which is one of my favorite engines. But it only generates 185 brake horse in these. This one, sadly, is only the 1.8 petrol. The 2.2 diesel is slightly better, I'll grant you. But this one's actually respectable enough. I was surprised at how nippy it still was. I found luggage capacity to be quite good for a small hatch. Impressive. These door cards seem a little strange. Yeah, the door pockets are nice, but they have a slit in them for some reason. Design choice. And this very strange idea of having the side panel and the armrest the same material. Switches are overall very Honda. The only chrome section is here, and I think that was a missed opportunity. They could have added it in elsewhere. Maybe here. As mentioned earlier, the seats have this sort of Swedish material going on, which I would imagine is a nightmare to clean, but it is comfortable. And it's manual adjustment only, but the manual adjustments are quite intuitive, easy to use, and there's plenty of scope for adjustment. This I can appreciate from any manufacturer. Clearly labelled bonnet and fuel filler cap releases. Good on you. Honda, I'm disappointed in this steering wheel. Yeah, right, it looks nice from a distance, but it's got that plasticky material. You know, the stuff that doesn't do very well with high mileage. I would hope you at least leather covered the steering wheel. Here's another thing. All the buttons are on one side. The other side is blank. It looks a bit half-assed. I don't like it much when car manufacturers do this. You've got a circular vent here, and you've got squarish vents here in the center. Choose one or the other. Don't try and do both. Okay, positive thing. These dials, very clear and legible. I like the way they're split physically. Let's show off this top dash section. This is the section I said suffered horribly from glare. It's actually quite nice, I guess, if you like that kind of thing. The dash unit has large chunky buttons, which is always nice to see, but it maybe looks a bit messy. And when you compare the stereo unit to the climate control, you can see that the mismatch of design philosophies really does look a bit jarring. The gear stick feels right in the hand, and it's clearly labelled, and it's very easy to get into reverse, not so easy that you do it by accident, but it's nice. Another nice to see, well thought out center console section. Physical handbrake, a covered 12-volt socket, two cup holders which are of suitable size for a bottle. That's nice to see. And then the rear section at the back, which is quite large. And I like the way the positions have been done for the sockets here too. Let's have a look over here then. Yeah, it's an okay size for a small Civic, I guess. The door card itself is a design philosophy similar to the front, which is grand. The legroom's okay in here. Well, if I hadn't put the seat all the way back for the last footage, but there you go. No armrest in the center. Disappointing, but you do get 60/40 folding rear seats, so that's something. What's going on here, Honda? Why? There's nothing back here. There's literally nothing. But the transmission tunnel is small, so that's something. What can I say? It's not a bad car. It's just Honda have made better. There's a few glaringly obvious design flaws, even though some changes have been made. I just can't get excited about this, the same way I do about my Odysseys. There's just something lacking. Well, I guess that was a 2013 Civic. Now up on screen, one that I hated, partial partner, and one that I loved, Ford Ranger. These were recent ones. I try and release a video every week, so if you like what I'm doing, like and subscribe, check out some of my other stuff, and we'll see you some other time. Until then, look after yourselves.